Okay, so before getting started, I just wanted to let you know that all of Dr. Winston's videos will be coming from his books, with the majority of his content coming from the book that Microsoft asked him to write. His 2019 Data Analysis and Business Modeling book. This is Microsoft's best-selling Excel book in the world, and you can see here, based on the reviews, that it's an extremely popular book. Dr. Winston's Marketing Analytics book covers all things marketing analytics and has been one of the best-selling books on the topics, as you can see here also by the 105 reviews. Finally, his Analytics Stories book covers real-world problems and he solves them using Excel. It is his newest book, but has perfect reviews thus far. So why am I telling you all of this? First of all, if you just watch all of the content, you will be getting a world-class education. Dr. Winston created the Excel course for Harvard, and virtually every business school in the world uses his books. If you go into the description below, there will be links to download the before and the after Excel files. No email is required, they're direct download links, and downloading the file will help you follow along. Also, if you like the content, then like, comment, and subscribe. This will help you be notified in the future, and it really helps us with the YouTube algorithm. It'll help students like you to see new content. Finally, please ask questions. Just leave a comment with your questions and we'll try to help answer. We really want you to learn and understand the content of these videos. With all that being said, let's get started.
So in the last few videos, we showed you how to use the Excel solver to develop sophisticated forecasting models that incorporate special factors. So let's really talk about a sort of less structured example than what we've come up with in the credit union and basically the example where we had the product on display, candy bar on display. So let's suppose we're looking at sales of a product that is tied to sales of new PCs. And we have each quarter of the year, first quarter is January through March, second quarter, April through June, etc., the millions of PCs that are shipped. This is made up data. Then we have the sales of the product. So what do we know will affect the sales of this product? More PCs shipped, the more sales of the product, because let's assume it's installed on new PCs. Also, seasonality. There may be seasonality. So we'll have a seasonal index for quarters 1, 2, 3, and 4 that should average to 1. We'll see the third and fourth quarter, after adjusting for other variables, are our big quarters for sales. And then there's the launch of a new version of our software. Let's suppose it's a software product. So the quarter before the launch, we've observed in the past, we don't sell as much as we'd expect because people are waiting for the new version of the product. Okay, the quarter of the launch, then basically they will buy the product a lot because it's being launched. And then the quarter after the launch, we still get a bump up in sales, but after that, we're pretty sure it disappears, although we could model basically a bump occurring more than 2 quarters after the launch. We could see if that's relevant, but let's assume it's not. Okay, so how would we come up with a forecast equation? What we would do is take some base level, in other words, a fraction of PCs that install the product, base times PC sales for the quarter, then look up the seasonality and multiply by that. We're using a multiplicative seasonality here. And then we could look up the launch factor. And we've made some changing cells up here. These happen to be the right answers. Okay, we can change those before we run the solver. Okay, so what are our changing cells? The 4 quarters of the year seasonalities, they must average to 1. That base, which sort of multiplies PC sales, which are millions, to sort of scale PC sales. And then we have basically, that should be launch. And then we're going to use an if statement, sort of code whether the quarter we're in is the quarter before the launch, the quarter of the launch, or the quarter after. So whenever there's a yes here, we know it's the quarter of the launch. So the way we coded things, just to show you, is in this column. So Basically, if there was a yes, then we put a 1 there to correspond to the period of the launch. Okay, if the quarter before was a yes, we put a 2 saying it's the quarter after the launch. The quarter after was the quarter of the launch, we put a -1 indicating it was the quarter before the launch. Otherwise, we put a 0 to code it. And then basically, we've got a V lookup, okay, based on this range. That's the lookup for seasonality. And then basically, when I'm looking up the forecast here, okay, I called it the range launch. See right there. We'll do a VLOOKUP false based on the code column to look up the effect of the launch. Okay, so then the formula, so this is coding the launch. And then basically our forecast formula, and then we'll minimize some of squared errors. That usually works well. You can minimize average absolute percentage error if you want to. That minimizes, that emphasizes typical value accuracy. Squared errors emphasizes sort of outliers because you're squaring them. So the forecast formula would be this. And we can look for outliers. We'll talk about that. There's one quarter that's an outlier. We take the base times the PC sales, that's this part. Then we do a VLOOKUP based on the quarter of the year, okay, in these two columns, and take the answer from the second column for the seasonality. Then based on column I, which is the launch code, we go up here. Basically, it's got to be a VLOOKUP false the way I coded things to look up the launch seasonal factor. Okay, then we have the errors, which are the actual, which is column F, sales in millions, minus the forecast. Then we square those errors, and we minimize the average of the squared errors or the sum of the squared errors. It's really the same thing. Okay, and then we'll find the standard deviation of the errors to look for an outlier. Okay, so I could change these. I could say there's no seasonality, for example. Okay, if I say there's no seasonality, okay, that's fine. And then the launch of, I could say the base is 0.2. And okay, I could say there's no launch effect if I wanted to. Okay. Well, that doesn't do very well. So what's the solver window going to look like? Minimize the sum of the squared errors. That's going to be L8. Change the things in yellow, the seasonal indices, the base, and the 3 launch effect variables. We need bounds on the changing cells. We got to use multi-star because this is a highly nonlinear model. Okay, we're multiplying stuff together. So we say the seasonalities are between 0 and 2. I've never seen a seasonal index above 2. There may be one. The average of the seasonalities is equal to 1. And then I'll say the base factor must be less than, surely 2. We can't sell more than 1 per PC, I would think. And then those launch factors, I don't think the quarter before launch, quarter of a launch, we more than double our sales. But again, if we bump up against any of those bounds, we can relax the bounds. So if I go options, I go GRG nonlinear, multi-start bounds on the changing cells. And then if I let this run a little while, it should work. Okay. It's improving a little bit. We'll give it a little bit of time here. I mean, we could stop it. It doesn't look like it's improving at all here. The standard deviation should come out to roughly 3%. Let's take a look here. Okay, 3.4%. That's pretty close. The third quarter is 16% above average. The fourth quarter, 29% above average. Those are our big quarters. The quarter of the launch, 19% above average. The next quarter after the launch, 8% bigger. And then the quarter before the launch is 19% worse than average. And then we look at our sign changes. About half the time, the errors should change sign. Remember, errors change sign. If the product of the successive errors is less than 0, we went minus plus or plus minus. 21 sign changes out of 47 chances to change signs. That's roughly half. The standard deviation of the errors is 3.4%, not the absolute errors, the errors. So anything up by more than 6.8% would be an outlier, and quarter 44 is an outlier. We have about 12 years of data here. So we basically understand how to forecast sales. We take 9.9% of what we sold to PCs. If there's no launch, then we just multiply by the seasonal index. If there are no launch in the very close to the period we have. But if we're a quarter before the launch, we knock the forecast down by 19%. The quarter of a launch, we raise it by 19%. The quarter after a launch, we raise that forecast by 8%. But that shows you the power of the solver to find out the patterns data you're trying to forecast. Of course, I made this data up to have the pattern that I'm talking about. But if you understand sort of what type of functional equation makes sense to model your cells, then the solver is terrific at finding the parameters, almost no matter how complex, that will basically make your model best forecast the cells.
So thanks for watching. We really hope you're enjoying our Excel videos. And over the next several years, we'll be releasing our complete library of Excel training onto our YouTube channel. But if you don't want to wait for years, then I wanted to talk to you a bit about the master course Dr. Winston has created. It's his life's work, and I wanted to talk to you about the benefits that you can receive from enrolling. The first thing is lifetime access. And lifetime access doesn't just mean you'll have a login forever, it means that you'll get to have access to all of the new content that Dr. Winston creates. So even though the course currently has more than 800 videos, Dr. Winston creates new content all the time. As Excel or as Microsoft, creates new functions and new functionality in Excel, Dr. Winston will create content that you will have access to. And you will also have access to all the new spreadsheets and all of the new videos that Dr. Winston creates. And what this will do is this will help you stay up to date with Excel. Next is there's a 60-day money back guarantee, right? This guarantee is a no questions asked guarantee. So if at any time within the first 60 days you're not completely satisfied, I will personally refund your money. You can email me, ryan@excelwithwayne.com. Also, there's a 50-question exam that you can take upon completion of the course. This will test how well you're retaining the knowledge of the videos. And if you pass that test with 70% or greater, then you'll get a certificate of completion. And the certificate looks like this. And if you look in the bottom left, once you receive a certificate, you can have a job recruiter or an HR manager. They can email us. They can email Dr. Winston, wayne@excelwithwayne.com, and he will verify that you did in fact complete our course. The challenge with Excel courses is that there's no support, right? Normally you purchase the course and then you're on your own. But what if you have any questions? What if you don't understand things? And the benefit of our private Facebook group is that you don't just have to ask questions about our course, you can ask questions about your day to day Excel questions. Our group is called the Excel Mastermind, and you can see here there's more than 1,700 members that are more than happy to answer your questions. And this group is also only for students of Dr. Winston's. So you're going to have very, very, intelligent students, people that have invested in themselves, helping you answer your questions, as well as us. We also monitor the group. So as mentioned before, there's more than 800 videos in the course. There are currently, I believe, 811 videos. But going forward, we're always creating new content. And along with those videos, there's more than 1,500 downloadable Excel files. And the benefit of the downloadable files is that you get the before and the after file. And the benefit of having the after file is that you can follow along, right? And so all the formulas that Dr. Winston creates, you'll have in you'll be able to download them. Currently there's more than 75 hours of content, but again, going forward, Dr. Winston creates new videos all the time, and so that number is going to keep on increasing. So real quick, let's just talk about some of the issues with online training, and specifically online Excel training. The first one, as mentioned before, is there's no support, right? Like, what happens if you have a question? What happens if you don't understand something about the course? Or what happens if you don't understand something in your day-to-day task? Because no matter what Excel course you purchase, they're not going to solve your exact problem, right? Because you're setting up your spreadsheet, you're in your own way, and things like that. So again, we solve that problem with our private Facebook group. So you can see it here again, the Excel Mastermind group. You can go to it. You won't be able to access it until you become a student, but you can go and you can sort of see, I mean, this is a real group on Facebook. The next issue, which is a pretty big issue with Excel, is that once you purchase most courses, actually all courses that I know of, they're not up to date. And what do I mean by not up to date? So Microsoft in the past 2 years, and really in the past 6 months, but let's use the past 2 years, they've really, really updated Excel, and they've added a ton of new functions and a ton of new functionality. And so if the courses are not adding new content as Excel or as Microsoft is releasing content, then you're really going to be left behind. So as you can see here, these are just a few of the functions that Microsoft has recently released. The MinFS, the MaxFS, XLOOKUP, which is probably the number one new function in Excel because it replaces the VLOOKUP and the HLOOKUP and index match. The unique function, the filter function, sort, stock history, and then stock data types, geography data types, switch, ifs, etc. There's new charting functionality. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And so again, if you're purchasing a course that is not staying up to date, then you're really going to be left behind. And what I mean by left behind is that you're not going to be as efficient in your spreadsheet tasks that you could be. Finally, it's the quality of the professor. And so this is where I want to talk a little bit about Dr. Winston. So the first thing you could do is just go over to Google and type in Wayne Winston. And you can see over here on the right side his Wikipedia page. You can see he went to MIT. You can see some of the books he made. You can go to Amazon, or you can go to, Kelly, which is the Kelly School of Business at Indiana University. You can go to his LinkedIn page. I mean, there's a lot of places you can go to just to see about Dr. Winston. Who is he? Another thing you could do is you could search for his books. Just go to Wayne Winston books and look at images. But you can see Microsoft's book 2019, 2016, 2010. I believe it goes back all the way to 2003, but I'm not 100%. I'm pretty sure, but not 100% on that. So the main book that Dr. Winston has written is his 2019 book. When I say the main book, the most popular book. I mean, all of his books are very popular, but this is his most popular one, as you can see here, based on the reviews. And this is the book that Microsoft has asked Dr. Winston to write. And this is Microsoft's best-selling Excel book on the topic. His second popular book is called Marketing Analytics. And you can see, again, there's very good reviews on this. You can go to Amazon and you can see the reviews. And I would say go to Amazon and look at the bad reviews, because the bad reviews are talking about the shipping, like the book was messed up in shipping, or it doesn't include the downloadable files, but it actually does. They just didn't know how to find it. But this book covers all things marketing analytics. And his other book here is Analytic Stories. And this is a very interesting book because what Dr. Winston does with this is he solves real world problems using Excel and using analytics to show, some interesting things that have happened historically, and proving them, with Excel and with statistics in Excel. So instead of talking about the books that Dr. Winston has written, maybe the best thing to do, since Excel is a business tool, the number one business tool in the world, what about business schools? Very popular business schools. Like, so who trust him? Like, what are the top business schools in the world? So let's go to the first one, which would be Harvard here. And what you can see is they asked him to create their course. You can see on the one, two, three, the fourth link, you can see that in 2013, that is the spreadsheet course. I do believe there is a 2016 course, but I'm not 100%. And so yeah, they're using his books, Mathematics for Management. They're using his data analysis books in his courses and things like that. So Harvard's using them, but let's just look at some other schools, right? So the next one would be MIT. And you can see the syllabus of MIT is using his operations research book. You can see MIT OpenCourseWare is using his stuff, and the list goes on and on. But let's keep going. Let's not stop there, right? So Stanford is using his stuff. And I'm going to go a little bit faster just because there are a lot of universities here. So Stanford, right? You can see Wharton, which is a really popular finance school. If you're not familiar with it, has used this stuff, at least a couple years ago they did. And then you have Columbia in New York is using his books. NYU, also in New York, is using his material. You could go to Yale. And here's an interesting one, because this is IIT, which is in India, and it's the number one school in India. It's apparently the hardest university in the world to get into because like everybody applies to it, and it has a very, very low acceptance rate. But again, you can see they're using his book. And also here, this is the Indian Institute of Management, which is the number one business school in India. And you can see, again, they're all using his content. And this is a school in China. It's SEABS, and this is the number one business school in Asia, I believe. And they're also using his content. And then finally in Europe, INSEAD, which I am not 100%. I think it's in Switzerland. I could be wrong, but again, they are all using his book. So essentially, the number one business school in every country is using his book. In America, the top 10 or top 5 are using his books. And so Excel is a business software. Business schools are using his content, and so they all trust him, right? And the biggest sign of trust is that they're using his materials to teach their professors how to teach the subject of Excel, right? And also advanced analytics. Also, sort of on the just like a fun note about Dr. Winston is that he was also a two-time Jeopardy champion. And you can Google that. You can go to YouTube and you can watch him answer the questions. It's actually pretty funny. And so in his courses he does add a lot of trivia, and that's sort of makes it a little bit fun because we all know it's Excel, right? Like, how fun can Excel really be? So yeah, so that's some of the things I wanted to talk to you about. If you have any questions, just let us know. But if you did want to go and you wanted to invest in yourself, then you could go to excelwithwayne.com/course. And also, when you get to the site, if you just scroll down a bit, then you can see the syllabus here. And if you click on any of those syllabi, you will then be able to see the exact materials in that course. Because I'll go back one here, but you're not just getting one course; you're getting 4 courses. The top left one here, the complete Microsoft Excel course, that is from his book that he's been writing for Microsoft, and the marketing analytics book is from his marketing analytics book, or sorry, his marketing analytics course is from his marketing analytics book, and then his analytics stories course is from his analytics stories book, and then the Monte Carlo simulation with Palisades. That is a very advanced course, and you would need the at risk. You get the course, but you would need at risk the add-in to be able to follow along to that. I mean, you could still, of course, watch the videos. It's just to follow along, you need to purchase the add-in. It is not included in the course. But again, if you click on any of the syllabi there, you would see something like this. And then if you click, the plus sign on any of the chapters, you would see every video that is included inside of that. So let's talk about the price of the course, right? So with Dr. Winston, well, let's step back. So let's talk about the price of an MBA. So this is where Dr. Winston teaches. And if you were to purchase this course, it's the equivalent of probably 4 MBA courses. And I can tell you this because I'm an MBA alumni of Dr. Winston's. And this is where he taught. He's retired, but you can see the prices here. And the price of the course is $397 for lifetime access. And what you will get with that is, again, everything we just talked about. And so you can compare the prices because it's essentially you're getting 4 college courses, which is 12 hours of college credit, and an MBA is about 48 hours. So you're essentially getting 1/4 of an MBA from watching the content of Dr. Winston. And so finally, that's it. That's the pitch. And so if you have any questions, just let us know. Email us anytime, and you can email us at info@excelwithwayne.com. And yeah, thanks for watching, and really hope to see you in class.